Hey guys, this week I finished Bebop and Rocksteady's apartment. It's a diorama with all four walls are removable to take pictures from every angle, and this is how I did it. I'm going to show you. Alright, let's do it. So this is craft wood I got from the dollar store, and for the floor it's a bamboo cutting board also from the dollar store, and then those are just hardboard sheets from the dollar store. So I sand and then wipe off the dust from the cutting board, and that's like old IKEA MDF shelf piece, and I did sand that, but now I spread wood glue and then I put a bunch of super glue to help hold it in place and let the wood glue dry because that takes longer. And now while that's drying, I move on to the one wall that I'm gonna put a window in because it's a pain to make the windows, so only one wall gets a window. And I have my hardboard. I scored it. I drilled in all the corners and then I scored it with my scalpel. Then I use a little hobby knife to cut it out, one corner at a time. Then the middle. Now this is a little like doll house table, also from the dollar store, but I broke the leg while I was cutting it, so I glue that back together and leave it to rest, and then cut up some more pieces. Now I trace out the window to the EVA foam that I'm going to use to make I'm going to do bricks on the outside of like the main entrance wall. And well, not bricks, they're going to be more like cinder blocks, but now I cut out, that's where the doorway is, and start gluing together. That's going to be what holds the walls in place. So it's just two of the square dowels that I glued together to get just about the same height as the cutting board, so nothing wobbles and everything stays in place. Now I mark where the bottom is so that I don't put paint there, because then it's gonna interfere with it going in and out smoothly. I have a black-brown wash that I made out of just acrylic, black acrylic and brown acrylic and water, and I cover that. I end up doing 2 coats and then a light sanding, and that's how it looks now. And I'm painting all the outside pieces are gonna be cement. So I just black and white, and I put a little bit of glue and blue and green in there. Then I try to put a clear coat using the same brush, but it had too much gray on it, so I had to wipe that off. And I use a smaller brush to put the matte varnish clear coat on the floor. And so the piece that I cut off the table, I broke it in half, and then I used that for the brackets for the little shelf I cut out of it was just like a piece of wood that you write the name of a plant on, also from the dollar store. Now with my black brown wash, I'm going over the table, the shelf, and a couple of poles that are going to go inside the apartment to help it all stay together. So I drew it out with like a pointy pen, and now I'm tracing over the lines lightly with my scalpel to get it a little deeper, and it's going to make it pop out a little more in a bit. And then just random stabs and slashes. And now I bring out my heat gun, and this is going to heat up the foam, so it's going to seal it on the outside and also make all the details pop out a lot more. And then I put that so that it doesn't warp. So this is a little arcade, and it works, and it's going to go inside the apartment, but on the bottom the plastic had this design on it that I thought would be really cool for the window. So I cut that out, and it took me a while to decide which color I was going to use, but then I remembered when I was looking at my pumpkin orange, the first time I ever painted my room, or was old enough and did it myself and picked the color, I went with Halloween orange. I don't have Halloween orange, but pumpkin orange is close enough. So I paint all the inside panels with that. Now I mix up a lighter gray color for this wall because they're like cinder block size. So cinder blocks are a lighter gray, even closer to white, but I went with gray because it looks, I don't know, I didn't want to do a white wall. And now I'm just covering it all, and it's dries quick because it's acrylic. I'm going over all the spots, and as I get to the bottom of the paint, a lot of colors that didn't mix well, like the black, is coming out a little more, and I'm just dabbing it all over to make it random and to add texture and detail and depth and variety to the wall. And then I cover everything that I've painted so far with the Liquitex matte varnish. I like this one because it's good for pretty much anything. Now I'm going to try a technique I've used once like 5 years ago. It's covering with Mod Podge and the paper, and they transfer the picture from the paper to the other surface that you're transferring to. So I leave that to dry. I glue on the window with super glue, and then to get the foam wall onto the hardboard, I spread out a bunch of Mod Podge and then put a whole bunch of super glue to help it stay in place nicely. And I have a couple more of those square dowels that I put on the top because there's a little extra space, and I had cut some of the square dowels to make the inside window frame, and I had to sand that one down a bit to make it fit with my little Dremel. That's a picture from The Simpsons. I thought it'd be cool on the wall behind the couch, and some other posters that I shrunk down and printed out, adding some glass details out here. And this is where it really starts to come to life and look cool. I have a black wash, and it's just black acrylic and water, and I'm spreading that out over everything, just trying to really make sure to get into all the cracks and details that I made earlier. And it's going to make everything pop out and look cool and old, and yeah, I like it. It looks much better, I think. Now it's been a couple hours, and then you wet the paper and can kind of peel it off. I think you might be supposed to wait like overnight or do some of the steps differently, but it's been like 5 years, and I thought if I make a mistake it makes the video more interesting, so I didn't go back and look at the videos of other people doing that. But if you want to use this technique, you should look at videos of other people doing that. I thought I could maybe bring it back with some clear coat, but that didn't really work. Now those beams or posts that I had painted earlier with my brown wash, I'm adding in to fill in some of the cracks and add some stability, but I'm only putting them on one wall so that each wall can still move and come out, and I glue down the shelf to the one wall. Now that's just a little tiny plastic cup, and I'm dry brushing a bunch of silver on it to make it look like it's made out of metal. I made this Nintendo in a previous video, and I just glued the plug that I made to the wall, well, the outlet, and then its magnet, they can come out, the plugs. And I have this Star Trek TV. I added and painted over that one. I colored it with marker because the white of the paper was showing too much. But now this is what the whole thing looks like put together. I'll probably add more pictures and stuff at a later date, and because they can move out, or I can switch the panels, I can paint like 4 different color panels, and it'll be a whole different room without having to build another base, and it'll take up less space. So that's what they look like. Most of the stuff I use that didn't come from the dollar store you can find in the description below. And until next week, always keep your head up. Peace.